Guys, forget about The Platform. The most bizarre science fiction film this year, isn't it? Today, the movie Vivarium, recommended by Harry, is really worth watching. Imagine if you can only live in a matchbox-like house in your life, no neighbors, no entertainment, and have to raise an unknown baby. Will you be driven crazy? The story started with a young couple. The girl's name was Gemma. She was a kindergarten teacher. Her boyfriend, Tom, was a gardener from the same school. Their incomes weren't high, their only property was an old Golf. But out of the need of his mother-in-law, Tom had to lump it and accompanied his girlfriend to the estate agent. The agent Martin said that he would take them to the model house to see everything. So, Martin led the way. The two followed and drove into yonder area. The scene in front of him was incredible. The neat and identical houses were like pasting and copying, with green walls and green lawns. Tom somehow felt panicked. Everyone arrived. They began to enter house number 9. Martin proudly advertised the house. "This house is perfect. I guarantee that you can buy it, and live until your funeral." "Funeral? We are not buying a cemetery." The couple just wanted to complain. They turned their heads and looked around. Martin had disappeared without saying anything. "The service is so bad, we're never gonna buy it." Gemma pulled Tom and drove away. But on their leaving, the fear in their hearts gradually emerged. There were thousands of identical roads in the area. How can they find the direction to go back? Did they meet the legendary lost ghost? Sadly, they were out of fuel, there was no signal from the phone either. They even didn't encounter anyone here. That's it. They decided to go back to house number 9 and rest for a night. The room was empty. The only things to eat and drink were champagne and some strawberries in the fridge. Tom grabbed a strawberry. He immediately frowned. "Bah, what's this? It has no flavor. I'd rather eat sh*t." As soon as the sun rose the next day, the two began their escape plan. Tom took the ladder from the car and climbed up the roof. He looked up and got stunned. As far as he can see, every house was a cloned house. They densely stretched to the horizon. Tom dragged Gemma to climb over the railings with the hope to escape. However, the sun had gone down, the exhausted couple still couldn't find the exit. Gemma saw there was a house with light. She immediately shouts, "There is someone in this house." They happily rushed in. Next second, they were struck by lightning. "This is house number 9. We are cursed." What was scarier was that there was a package outside the house. Inside was filled with food and daily necessities. It seemed that this area was the depraved prison. Tom tore the paper box, hit it with fire and threw it into the house. Seeing the raging fire, he smiled. Life is worthless, the house should attract others. He didn't believe no one would ignore the signal. The couple slept on the roadside. The moment they opened their eyes, they couldn't believe it. The house that had been burnt down was still good as ever. There was a cardboard box on the road. There lay a newborn baby. The baby is very cute. But in the box said, "Raise the child and be released." What does it mean? Gemma, holding the baby, couldn't understand. In a blink of an eye, after 98 days, she finally understood. This child was not human, but a monster, which grew 4 times faster than others. In 3 months, he grew into a primary school student. Every day, he'd mimic the adults in a rash tone. "We can't get out. Tom, we're gonna die. Jesus can't help us." Or he just screamed out of his throat and wouldn't be quiet until Gemma fills him with food. Life was boring. He had to raise a cursed child every day. Tom was almost crazy. He simply didn't do anything and just stayed outside, wanting to see who took the garbage and who delivers the food. In the blink of an eye, the box disappeared. Gemma couldn't believe in her eyes. But a burned carton left caught Tom's attention. Maybe if he dug a tunnel, he could escape. Ever since he started digging, Tom's whole personality changed. During the day, he hastily dealt with 2 meals, then just picked up the shovel and began digging as tomorrow was apocalypse. At night, Tom went back to the house with sweat. At first, their communication could last for 1 to 2 hours. It slowly became 3 minutes, and finally shortened to 3 seconds. One day, there was no difference. Gemma was leaning against the washing machine watching the child running around and learning how to bark. After a while, the child turned on the TV. It looked like Vortex and Fractal. The geometry meaninglessly changed. Although his eyes were dizzy, the child was fascinated by the visual. Finally, having their rare free time, Gemma and Tom got into the car sighing about their lives. Fortunately, the car had no gas, but it still had electricity. The music from the radio became the only remaining comfort. Listening, the two couldn't help but dance. Time was indeed a test. Tom was no longer a young man. Being tortured by that child every night, he had a nervous breakdown. Finally, at breakfast time, hearing the annoying scream again, he finally burst out. "I don't want to be a father anymore." Done saying, he picked up the child and forcibly stuffed it into the car. He wanted to starve the boy and ignored his screams. However, Gemma was a woman after all. Despite Tom's dissuasion, she took the child back to the room. Tom didn't have time to worry about these things. He seemed to hear noises from the hole yesterday. Now he didn't bother to eat or drink, but thinking about the hole. He didn't even sleep with Gemma anymore. Over time, Gemma became accustomed to this widowed family life. Her only joy in life was to accompany the child looking up at the clouds in the sky and howling with anger and helplessness. Suddenly one day, the child disappeared from Gemma's sight. She searched the house but didn't see him. Where did this child go? After night came, the child returned miraculously. He was holding a thick book, saying that someone gave it to him. Gemma hurriedly opened it and carefully scanned it through. She could see the words from the cracks. There were only 2 words written in the book: "Eat human." "Who gave you this book?" Gemma asked the child in horror. Unexpectedly, this time things got scarier than a horror movie. She saw the boy rolled his eyes and inflated his throat sacs. His neck stretched like a toad. Was he a descendant of alien? At that moment, Gemma let out a desperate cry. She couldn't make it anymore. When the camera switched, another 98 days passed, the child quickly became a decent man. Gemma no longer dared to look directly at this monster. She cried to Tom, "I should have listened to you," and killed him. At this time, Tom had become skinny and weak. He couldn't even speak normally. How can he deal with the man now? Gemma thought of a way. After a day of tracking, Gemma not only failed to catch the man's step, but was also got lost in the yonder area. At this time, Tom was still digging the hole. He finally found something. Opened and looked, it turned out to a withered corpse. Being scared, he crawled out of the hole. He heard Gemma was calling for help. He found Gemma with his voice. The two were finally able to reunite again. They knocked on the door and dumbfounded. The man had locked the doors and windows, not letting them enter the house. After a few days, Gemma was nearly unconscious. Tom was dehydrating and nearly died. Seeing the man coming out, Gemma grabbed him and pleaded, Tom is going to die. Help him." The man responded without any emotion. "I don't think this is necessary. He should be relieved now." "Yes." Tom fell into Gemma's arms and said a mockery. "We raised an ungrateful beast." As soon as the voice fell, the man stopped breathing. Tom was dead. At this time, the man turned up from nowhere. He threw a brand new body bag in front of Gemma. The woman looked helplessly at the ruthless monster. He threw Tom into the bag like garbage and drew the air out skillfully. The hen threw the bag in the hole. If Tom was alive in the sky, maybe he could understand what it means to dig his own grave. The angry Gemma lost her mind. She took a pickaxe and smashed him hard. After being attacked, the man wailed like a strange creature. He immediately lifted the cement floor tile and got into the gloomy alien space. Gemma also entered the space. The colorful underground haunted the house. In the world of red, orange, yellow, green, blue and purple, the picture before her eyes was like a fast-forward movie. She had seen her own life, and she had also seen the same fate of others. When she stumbled and rolled down the stairs, she returned to the familiar house number 9 again. This infinite reincarnation had already completely imprisoned her. After fainting, Gemma woke up for the last time. She saw herself lying in the body bag. Gemma tried her best to say to the man, I want to go home." "Hey, don't be silly." The man answered her gently, "Mom, this is your home, your eternal home." As the zipper creaked, Gemma's body was thrown into the hole with Tom. After the hole was filled, the lawn quickly restored to its original shape, and it can't be seen that the previous homeowners were buried here. The man got into the long-abandoned car. The small broken car with no gas started running again. After a few turns, he drove away from the yonder area. The car stopped in front of an agency company. The man entered the office leisurely. Martin was already leaning on the chair. He greeted the new arrival with a deadly look. His body was folded into a tuft of parcels. After being stuffed into the cabinet, he sank into the unknown darkness. While new Martin was sitting in the position, he showed a smile. Ding dong, the doorbell rang. The next batch of house-buying couples was coming. The story ended here. So what is the meaning of the movie Vivarium? First of all, the movie started with a cuckoo picture. This kind of bird has a probability that it will never raise its own offspring. Instead, it lay its eggs in the nests of other birds. When the cuckoo chicks break out of their shells, they will kill all other immature competitors and become the mother's chicks. Gemma and Tom seem to have encountered such cuckoo monsters. He was raised in the nest and finally took over the owner. In fact, Vivarium is not that simple. The problems that Gemma and Tom met are like the situations of young people. We grow up, work and then get married. We think that buying a house and settling down is the beginning of hope. House can be mortgaged. After being locked by the loan and consumption, the house becomes a forbidden place like house number 9. We can't escape even if we want to. After the child is born, the devilish life really starts. Men are busy with work and women do the housework. The sweet life is diluted by trivial matters until it becomes numb. As for the whole story, Harry recalled another story. Someone asked the shepherd, "What is your wish?" The shepherd said that it was raising a lot of sheep so that he'd have the money to marry a wife and have children. When the children grew up, they'd continue to raise sheep. So, after watching Vivarium, please ask yourself, is your goal to be entering house number 9? Or, you already live in house number 9, and can you escape from it? Everyone is welcome to write your thoughts in the comments. Remember to like and follow. Our next video will be more exciting. I'll be waiting for you.